마고복덕을 몰고 들어.
안녕하십니까? 안녕하십니까? 저는 나라사랑어머니회 총무 그레이스입니다. 반갑습니다. 자, 오늘 국기에 대한 경례부터 시작하겠습니다. 조금 늦어져서 빨리빨리 진행하도록 하겠으니까 양해 부탁드립니다. 자, 국기에 대한 경례. 모두 일어나 주십시오.
자유롭고 정의로운 대한민국의 무궁한 영광을 지니며 충성을 다할 것을 굳게 다짐합니다.
자, 국기에 대한 경의가 끝났고 애국가 지금 1절만 부탁드립니다. 성조가도 1절만 하겠습니다. 자, 이제 저희 나라사랑어머니회 임원진 소개를 좀 먼저 하겠습니다. 저희 회장님, 김데레사 회장님 일어나 주시면 감사하겠습니다. 그 다음에 이사장님, 저 백수민 사장님, 또 박경자 본부장님 어디 계십니까? 오케이. 그 다음에 황수영 부회장님, 김정미 서기님, 전숙 회계님, 네, 박수 좀 부탁드립니다. 그 소개 많이 해주십니다. 그리고 저희 이제 회장님하고 이사장님 개회사가 있겠습니다. 두 분 잠깐 올라와 주시겠어요?
안녕하세요. 나라사랑어머니회 회장 김데레사입니다.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sun Hee-Pak, the chair of the Atlanta Korean Mothers Association. I'd like to welcome all of you to our fifth 엄마 밥 celebration. We have an exciting program tonight. First, great speaker, Mr. Kevin Kim, who is an associate attorney by Taylor, Lee, and Associates. Second, a performance contest among 8 groups of young jurymen. And finally, delicious Korean bibimbap and more prepared by the mothers of the association. Please enjoy tonight and thank you for coming.
네, 감사합니다. 지금 우리 어디에 와 있죠? 여러분? 한인회관에 와 있죠? 예, 우리 한인회관이 이렇게 생겼고 자랑스럽습니다. 우리 오늘 뭐 하죠? 네, 엄마밥에 왔어요. 많이 즐기시고 많이 드시고 재밌게 춤도 추시고 놀다 가시기 바랍니다. 감사합니다.
자, 지역 인사분들하고 후원자 소개, 또 그리고 다른 순서들이 계속 진행될 건데요. 자, 지역 인사분들 지금 김학규 홍사단 동남지부장님 오셨고요. 일어나 주십시오. 그다음에 민주평통 김형률 회장님 오셨습니다. 또 정양수 박사부부 오셨고요. 자, 저희 이 동네에서 좀 유명하신 분들이니까 얼굴 좀 잘 기억해 놓으세요. 그 다음에 저희 어머님들 너무너무 수고 많으셨어요. 우리 오늘 어머님들 한번 일어나 주십시오. 네, 여러분 박수 좀 부탁드립니다. 자, 그리고 이제 한인회장님, 김일홍 한인회장님, 어디 계시죠? 네, 거기 계시는구나. 잠깐 올라오셔서 간단한 축사 부탁드립니다.
여러분 반갑습니다. 애틀랜타한인회장 김일홍입니다. 우리가 옛날에 군대에 있을 때 이 만력이 되면 떨어지는 낙엽도 피해가라고 그랬는데 제가 이제 임기가 2개월이 안 남았습니다. 올해 말일 때 임기인데 또 그동안에 이 엄마밥 행사를 5번째 이렇게 진행해 주시는 우리 김데레사 나라사랑어머니회 회장님을 비롯해서 우리 회원님들 너무나 이렇게 뜻깊은 행사를 매년 해주셔서 대단히 감사드리고요. 우리가 흔히 요즘 한국 TV를 보면은 먹는 프로그램이 굉장히 많이 있습니다. 그래서 저도 가끔 이렇게 저도 먹는 걸 좋아해가지고 많이 보는데 거기 보면 집밥이라는 프로그램이 있는데 그게 보면은 보통 집에서 어머님이 이렇게 해주는 가족들이 먹는 그런 프로그램으로 알고 있습니다. 오늘 이렇게 엄마밥 행사가 저는 그런 맥락에서 우리 젊은 친구들이 또 이국 땅에서 또 이렇게 가족 품을 떠나서 부모님 품을 떠나서 이쪽에서 이렇게 유학생활이라든지 다른 모든 그런 직장이라든지 이런 관계에 와 있는데 좀 그런 쪽에서 우리 서로 좀 달래주고 또 이렇게 같이 정을 나누는 그런 행사가 아닌가 생각을 합니다. 오늘 단순히 한끼가 여러분들한테는 그냥 의미가 없을지 모르겠지만은 우리 나라사랑어머니회에서 엄마밥이라는 게 정성과 사랑 이런 걸 모아가지고 오늘 또 이렇게 오신 우리 젊은 우리 친구들이랑 같이 이런 나누는 시간을 갖게 된 거는 저는 굉장히 뜻깊다고 생각을 합니다. 그래서 이런 행사가 매년 이렇게 이어져 왔고 또 앞으로도 계속 이어질 거라고 저는 생각을 합니다. 오늘 한인회관 오신 모든 분들 환영하고 또 앞으로 남은 시간 좋은 시간이 되시기 바랍니다. 감사합니다.
한인회의 도움이 없이는 이런 행사가 참 어렵습니다. 이렇게 큰 장소도 저희들이 갖게 되고 그래서 여러분들도 애틀랜타 한인회가 무엇을 하는 곳이고 또 이 지역 한인들한테 어떤 영향을 끼치는지 여기에 사시는 동안에는 좀 please consider. Thank you. 자, 그리고 이제는 초청 인사 좀 간단히 있으실 건데요. 아까도 저희 이사장님께서 말씀드리신 것처럼 Mr. Kevin Kim is associate attorney at Taylor, Lee and Associate. He used to be a VP and talk show host at the Korean radio station here. Please welcome Mr. Kim.
and privileged to be here and speak before many bright and promising young men and women like yourselves. Thank you for inviting me, and I want to thank Ms. Kim, Ms. Bag, and Ms. Park, Ms. Cruz, and all the members of this organization for holding this wonderful event. My name is Kim Kevin Kim, and of course I want to thank all of you for being here on Sunday afternoon, looking great and smart. Thank you for being here. My name is Ingu Kevin Kim, and people call me Kevin, and my mom calls me Inguya. We are from Gyeongsangdo. And I have two wonderful kids and beautiful wife, and I have perfect parents who are present right over here. Thank you, mom and dad. Thank you. 감사합니다. 52년 동안 저를 변함없이 사랑해 주셔서 정말 감사합니다. I'm your speaker tonight, but I want to be honest with you up front that I'm not one of those highly successful people with an impressive resume. I'm not one of those men with the power, money, or fame. But I do have a story to share with you, a story full of challenges, struggles, and failures. Yet, I don't think I consider myself a failure because I never stopped trying to learn and better myself between the failures. I never lost my dreams and hope and enthusiasm as I made my way from one failure to another. Whenever it became obvious that I'm going to fail at something, people would say to me that, hey, Kevin Kim, you got to understand that it's not going to work. You got to give it up. You got to try something that is more feasible or more possible for you. And response to that kind of suggestion, I always would say, or ask myself, how can I do it differently to make it happen? How can I do better? And I think that made all the difference, and that's the story that I want to share with you today, and I hope you can gain something helpful and insightful that will guide you onto your future careers. So I want to share my story by telling you the moment that I landed in America, May 23rd, 1998. I was 30 years old. I came to the United States with my version of the American dream, but without the ability to speak English. And here's what happened the first day. The first American that I encountered was the luggage porter at the Detroit airport. After helping me a little bit, he started talking to me, but I had no idea. So I told him, sorry, no English. And then he started kind of gesturing to me what I guess was for a tip. But I knew that I had only 5 bundles of $100 traveler's check. I had no 20s, no 10s, no 5s, no dollar bill. So my choice was either give him $100 or nothing. So I quickly calculated the value of this $100 because back then in South Korea, McDonald's cheeseburger was about 5,000 won. So with that number in my hand, 5,000, and I thought $100 seemed to be equivalent to maybe half a pack of French fries or something. So I thought it's okay to give it away. So I gave it to him, and he took it, and he took off so quickly with a huge smile on his face. Maybe he was thinking to himself, oh my gosh, Asians are so stupid. Adding insult to injury, I shouted at him, hey, thank you so much. See you later. Unfortunately, I've never seen him again. This is a huge country. So since then, 21 years have passed. During that period of time, I've learned the language, I have learned about the American culture and American people, and also I learned the American system and the law. About 2.5 years ago, I passed the bar exam and I became an attorney. And during my transition from a guy who never spoke English to a guy who is required to speak English on a daily basis at a professional level, I have experienced countless failures, one after another, time and time again, just like any other immigrants. So my first failure came just 5 days after I landed in America. I have lent a substantial amount of money to a man without even signing a contract or promissory note because I trusted him. As a matter of fact, he was the only person that I knew at the time. But he fooled me, he lied to me over and over again, and I just kept letting him do it to me. All in all, he took almost substantial amount of money, and then I was almost broke, just shy of 5 months. That was a devastating loss for me because my wife and I came to America with all the savings that I had, and they were almost gone in just 5 months. So I began to have to work not only one job, but 2 jobs, and sometimes 3 jobs. But interestingly, however, for whatever reason, I was not that depressed or discouraged by what happened. I began to feel like something deep down in my heart, this may be okay because I'm in a different place. This might be the beginning of new opportunities in a different country. So I began to deliver newspapers in the morning, early in the morning. Also during the daytime, I delivered mail at a community college campus. And evening time, I was working as a convenience store, selling beer and cigarettes to factory workers. And during the weekend, I cleaned the Korean church that I was attending. The newspaper delivery job was quite challenging during the winter time because of the brutally cold weather in Michigan. It was December 25, 1998, at around like 4:30 in the morning. I was running around a healthy neighborhood delivering newspaper while my wife was sitting at the passenger seat of my car, helping me by putting all the special Christmas coupons and inserts into the newspapers. It was our first Christmas in America. We almost broke, and then delivering newspapers. And millions of stars were shining in the clear sky and shining down on the cold, deep snow that covered everything. It feels like everyone is asleep, but us and the stars. In the midst of delivery, unexpectedly, I came across an old gentleman wearing a big, thick overcoat and standing in front of his house. And he was gesturing to me while summoning me, "Hey, newspaper boy, come on over here." I came up to him, and he seemed to be a little surprised because I was not a boy, and then I was not a typical American delivery person. But nevertheless, he came up to me and then hugged me real tight and whispered into my ears, "Hey, Merry Christmas." And then he handed me a sealed envelope. So later, me and my wife opened the envelope. There was a beautifully written Christmas card and $20 special tip for us. I don't remember his face, but I do remember how I was feeling at the time, thinking to myself, this place, this country may be really special and exceptional because of the random kindness and generosity from the ordinary people like him. My campus mail delivery job reinforced my belief for a positive perspective toward American society even further. On my routine, I would not only pick up and drop off the mail, but also I would always say, "Good morning, this is Ingu." And then I started asking questions about the English word that I did not know or that I just learned. And interestingly, almost all of them were happy to help me out. I would have stopped by about 120 offices every single day, and then a lot of them became my English tutors. And then many of them became my friends. And about 6 months later, they would greet me every morning with this, like, "Hey, Ingo, good morning." So What's the word of the day? Bring it in. And yet there's another gentleman whom I run into on campus, occasional basis, and I'm often asking about the English word also. And one day he stopped me and gifted me a electronic dictionary and saying to me, "Hey, keep up the good work, young man." And then yet there's another total stranger from whom I bummed a cigarette from time to time, who invited me and wife to his house for every Christmas, every Thanksgiving until I left the mission. Those are just very small part of the list of general folks. Very generous folks that I've met, that I experienced personally. And such experience from ordinary people surrounding me, I think, played a very important role in whipping up my positive feelings and positive attitude to this society, American society, and which later became a foundation of my American journey. But remember here, I would have never had this kind of opportunities but for the failure caused by my stupid mistake in 1998. And speaking of failures, I began to have more serious failures and on a more frequent basis after I got a job in LA. It was my first real full-time job, getting paid a salary instead of hourly wages. And for whatever reason, my beginning of job has been fantastic, very successful because of my impressive performance. But later on, I always ended up failing in the job. I got kicked out, and I pressed her too quick, and I just got kicked out. I could not understand why I failed. Why me? Especially when I worked so hard than any other employees with much more enthusiasm. Why should I be the one who failed? I could not understand until I got a job at the radio station in Georgia here, the Korean radio station. Then I realized why I failed before. It is because I had a very wrong belief that I worked hard and therefore I deserve better treatment. I learned that I was wrong, because everybody worked hard and everybody worked really hard and everybody took their job very seriously. So it is simply wrong to believe that I'm better than them. I was that wrong. That's why I continue to fail. So I thought to myself when I got the job, I learned this lesson the hard way from my failures. So if I fail again, I'm going to pack up and go back to Korea. This is going to be my last chance in America. However, unfortunately, I had to face another failures for different reasons as a radio personality. In early 2007, I decided to launch a radio show, the political radio show that our station never tried before. And not many people were supporting that idea. Some people say, "Hey, Kevin King, you are in this radio a very short period of time. You have no experience or knowledge of politics. You have no connections. You have no networks to host a radio show. It's not going to work." But I wanted it so bad, so I insisted on my plan, saying things like, "Okay, just give it a chance. If it doesn't work, you can fire me anytime." But that was a little risky game from the get-go, because my show was to replace a very, very popular radio show at the time. It's called 손석희의 시선집중, which was the #1 program in South Korea, #1 here in Georgia. So about 2-3 months later, people began to complain so hard, saying things like, "Who the hell is this guy? I hate this guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about, and I want Sonseokhi back." That was very painful, because I felt all the fingers pointing at me and all the voices saying to me that, "I told you it's not going to work." And it seems like I failed again, and then a radio station about to lose the advertising money, and everybody hated me. But I did not. Instead of giving up, I began to contemplate on how I could things around. And one day I came across a very interesting idea when I found his telephone number to the White House, which was occupied then by the President of the United States, George W. Bush. And he was getting a lot of complaints from people from all over the country when he was suffering his lame duck period. And my plan was to call to the White House during my radio show and doing something drastic or dramatic or something impactful. So I dialed on air. This is the White House, how can I help you? And I began to read a prepared statement in a very, very charismatic way, emphasizing at the end, please make sure that our president hear this message. And it turned out to be a debate. People really loved it. And people began to call in and say, hey, thank you so much for the radio show, because I've been in the United States for 30 years and I'm a citizen on paper, but I always felt that I'm an outsider. But this guy made me feel like I'm a true part of this country. This made me feel like I'm a citizen of this United States. Thank you for the radio show. And that became the turning point of my radio show, and my radio show lasted another 7 years. From the failure, I learned that people did not want to listen to my personal opinion. Rather, they wanted to be heard. They wanted to be connected to the American society, where they have been marginalized and isolated as a silent minority for such a long time. And when I began to play a role as a bridge between the Korean community and American society, people began to recognize and respect my show. If it wasn't for my initial failure, I would have never learned this kind of secret. But anyway, this new finding taught me a lot of lessons and great perspective that ultimately influenced my decision to go to law school at the age of 45. And also because I worked with a mutual respect toward my coworkers, I was able to stay at this job for 9 years, and then the radio station promoted me from the very bottom all the way to the vice president of the radio station. Speaking of my law school, as you can imagine, another level of challenge and another failures were lying ahead of me every corner of the way. Because I thought I had learned some language, learned some English by the time I went to law school, but I was wrong. My law school class consisted of like about 50% of lecture and about 50% discussion with the practice arguments among students. And I learned that I'm the only guy who grew up never speaking in English, and I'm the only guy who had never typed in English, which is a very important part of the class. We need to type. And so in just a couple of weeks, I realized that I was lacking seriously the very basic skills that I need to be successful in law school. And then honestly, I was able to about 60 or 70% of the lecture and less than 50% of what the students were talking about, because they spoke so fast, unclearly, without a microphone. So every class was a very painful reminder that I'm one of the worst students of all here. As a non-program student, I went to class after working full-time as a radio station vice president, and I went to school 6 o'clock, come back home 10:30, study until midnight or 1 o'clock, and next morning I had to go to work by 7 o'clock for a radio job, and during the weekend I had to work about 20 to 25 hours. So after spending 90 hours per week for 5 years, the mindset that I still one of the worst students could have made me feel like saying that this may not be what I meant to do. Maybe I should stop now. But instead of giving up, I decided to spare extra 1 hour to study English on top of studying law, while I'm practicing typing every single day. So by the time I was halfway through my law school, I was able to finish my final exam using typing instead of writing in longhand, and also I got my first A toward the end of my second summer semester. When I took the litigation class, my professor took me aside and asked me, "Hey, Kevin, what language do you speak at home?" And I said, "Korean." And she said, "So are you trying to be a trial lawyer?" And I said, "Well, professor, I want to be an attorney who can litigate if I need to." And she said, "Kevin, I'm really sorry. I understand that you work really hard and everything, but there's something that will never happen. No attorney who speaks English as a second language should not be a trial lawyer. It's not because you're not smart enough. I know that you're smart enough, work very hard, but not trial lawyer." So instead of accepting that verdict against me, I asked my professor, "Can you tell me a way to become a trial lawyer? Because I need to do it." At this time, she was a little kind of thinking. After a little pause, she said, "Well, Kevin, if you find some conversation partner with whom you can talk about like at least 1 or 2 hours every single day, and if your English conversation becomes a casual part of your daily routine, then you may or may not be a trial lawyer. It all depends. It's a possibility." So I said, "Thank you, Professor, for encouragement." Although the professor did not intend to encourage me to do it, but I took it as an encouragement, and I immediately began to search for my conversation partner. But I gotta tell you that finding conversation partner is not an easy job. Americans are so busy to talk with me on a daily basis, even for 10 minutes. First I tried my friends, my acquaintances. It didn't work, they're too busy. And then I tried senior living facilities, thinking that seniors might have more time because they're retired, nothing to do. But I was wrong. Seniors are very busy with their bingo game, a lot of activities. They're pretty busy people. And then I tried personal coaches, but that turned out to be a very costly. So I even tried Craigslist.com, and man oh man, Craigslist.com, people from that tend to interpret my posting as a conversation partner as a sex partner or something different. And I learned that there's so many interesting people out there. But anyway, it took me about 20 visits to senior facilities and about more than 150 phone calls from those people, the random people that I get to talk through the Craigslist.com list of personal coaches, until I found a real conversation partner after 6 months trial. Now I have 4 conversation partners who understand and support my need to improve my communication skills. So we talk over the phone on a daily basis whenever I'm driving. So 1 in the morning commute, 1 before lunch, 1 after lunch, and 1 for evening commute. But again, had I not failed during the litigation class, I would have never had this kind of opportunity to have this wonderful friend who is willing to help me out to become a better attorney. So speaking of a jury trial, I had my first trial last year in December. It was a civil case. I defended my clients, and my goal was to get all the claims dismissed against my clients. And I soon learned that the opposing counsel was a 35-year experienced American attorney who has been doing that in trials like so many times. When he entered the courtroom, he looked like a Michael Jordan in the basketball game. And he came with an associate, young attorney who happened to be my law school classmate, brilliant, all-A student. So compared to his team, I was all by myself, and I felt like I'm a 9-year-old boy who doesn't even know how to handle the ball, fighting against Michael Jordan. But instead of looking at them with admiration or fear, I began to recite my favorite Bible verse, Philippians 4:13, I can't do anything through him who strengthens me. I can do anything through Jesus Christ who makes me strong. I did that 10 times, and I looked at him again, and all of a sudden, this man looked like a just old man with a lot of bad pains. I was not scared of him anymore. So after a 3-hour heated debate, arguments, and cross-examination, the judge ordered that we're going to have a 1-hour recess. We're going to come back after 1-hour recess. And during the recess, this opposing counsel came up to me. Hey, Kevin, why don't we settle? And I was like, well, if your clients agree to dismiss all his claims, why not? And guess what? That's exactly what happened. I was surprised by my first victory. So was the judge, the court reporter, everybody in the courtroom. Nobody anticipated that this guy with broken English will win. I won the case. And I'm going to have another jury trial coming up in December. I don't know if I'm going to win this case, since I know that the other opposing counsel is another 30-year-old experienced attorney. But I do know that the real outcome of this case will not depend on how good an English speaker I am or how long I've been doing this one. The outcome will depend on how well I'm prepared as a counsel. So I'd rather spend more time prepare better than being worried about losing this case. I think we are running out of time, so let me kind of wrap up here. I understand that everybody here has a little different backgrounds, but no matter where you're born or grew up, or no matter what kind of backgrounds you have, every single one of you is given one canvas on which to paint your life. You can paint anything and everything you want because you have the full control of your brush. You're the artist of your own life painting. You can choose, you can use as many colors and brush strokes as you like. You can paint your life with more dreams, hopes, or joy, or you can paint with more complaints, excuses, or anger. As you know now, my life in America has been full of moments of failure. However, no failure has been permanent or fatal. At the moment of every such failure, instead of giving up, I ask myself, how can I do better? And when I found the answer how to do it, I tried my best to execute it. And that has made all the difference. So I want to challenge you, if you continue to persevere between your failures without losing your hope and enthusiasm, then your failures will only serve as a wonderful opportunity to make up who you are in your future. I wish you all the best of luck in your future endeavors. Thank you for listening, and God bless you. Thank you.
박경자 지금 너무 감사하셔서 직접 손으로 그리신 작품을 선물을 하시겠다고 그래서 지금 드리려고요. 사진 빨리 좀 찍으십시오.
넥스트 이어에 제가 이걸 학생들에게 드릴 최고 선물을 가지고 있습니다. 여러분, 제가 엄마밥 하면 여러분들이 화이팅 하십시오. 시작! 엄마밥! 땡큐.
확인하시죠? 제가 아까 깜빡하고 그 스피치의 제목을 타이로 말씀 안 드렸었던 것 같아요. 그 타이로이 How a Failure Turns into an Opportunity. Hope you had a good time. 자, 이제 애틀랜타 성결교회 김종민 목사님께서 올라오셔서 지금 잠깐 식사 기도 해주실 거고요. 그리고 나서 제가 지금 발견한 게 뭐냐면은 그 팀들 중에 먼저 가셔야 되는 분들이 혹시 있을까봐 저희가 단체 사진을 먼저 찍고 식사를 하도록 할 겁니다. 그러니까 기도가 끝난 대로 바로 여기에 다 모여주셔서 남는 건 사진밖에 없어요. 그래서 저희도 evidence we have to have. So please join us for the group pictures. Okay? Thank you.
자, 우리 함께 기도하겠습니다. 하나님 아버지, 오늘 나라사랑어머니회 제5회 엄마밥 행사를 갖게 해주심을 감사합니다. 이민사회의 각박한 환경 속에서도 어머니의 마음으로 이민세대의 청년들을 품습니다. 이 식사의 자리에 어머니의 마음이 우리 청년들에게 전해지게 해 주시옵소서. 하나님, 우리 청년들도 이민자로서, 이민자의 자녀로서, 한인으로서, 미국 사회의 일원으로서 꿈을 키워가고 있습니다. 개인의 꿈을 넘어서 공동체의 비전을 함께 꿈꾸고 가장 낮은 자리의 이웃에게 힘이 될 수 있는 청년들이 되게 하여 주시옵소서. 오늘 이 행사를 준비하며 수고하신 나라사랑어머니회 이사장님 백순희 이사장님과 김데레사 회장님 그리고 임원들 수고해주신 회원들의 봉사를 기억하고 복 주시옵소서. 또한 이 행사를 후원해주신 각 개인과 단체, 기업들을 기억하여 주시고 십시일반 선한 일을 위해 힘쓴 마음이 올 가을 더 큰 은혜로 열매 맺게 해 주시옵소서. 식사를 함께 나누고 사랑을 나누며 더 건강하게 해 주실 줄 믿고 감사드리며 예수님의 이름으로 기도합니다. 아멘.